Do this to your walkways and watch thousands of worms fix your raised beds. Did you know the spaces between your raised beds could be the solution to your struggling, tired soil? Most gardeners overlook these walkways, treating them as nothing more than paths to step on. But what if I told you those same spaces could quietly transform into worm superhighways, delivering thousands of earthworms straight into your raised beds? Well, today, I'm letting you in on one of the simplest soil-building secrets you'll ever learn, adding food scraps and mulch in your walkways. This one change turns dead soil into living soil, and it costs you almost nothing. This is not theory, and it's not complicated. With just your kitchen scraps, a little mulch, and the space you're already walking on, you can create a natural system where worms do all the work, fertilizing, aerating, and enriching your soil while you focus on growing. Why worms are the life force of your raised beds. Every gardener has heard that worms are good for the soil, but few really understand how powerful they are. Worms are more than just decomposers, they are living engines of fertility. Every mouthful of food they eat comes out as castings, one of the richest fertilizers on the planet. Castings are loaded with nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and micronutrients, all released in a slow, plant-friendly way. Their tunnels are just as valuable. As worms burrow, they create pathways that let air and water move deep into the ground, exactly where roots need them. This prevents waterlogging in heavy soils and keeps sandy soils from drying too quickly. On top of that, worms carry beneficial microbes that attach to plant roots, helping crops resist disease and absorb more nutrients. The truth is simple. The more worms you have in your raised beds, the healthier your plants will be. So the real question is, how do you invite thousands of them to move in? The answer lies right under your feet. Most gardeners keep their food scraps in a compost pile at the back of the yard. That's useful, but it takes time and effort, and the fertility doesn't end up directly in your raised beds. A much smarter way is to compost right in your walkways. Here's why it works so brilliantly. Walkways are naturally shaded and rarely disturbed. When you dig a trench, fill it with food scraps, and cover it with mulch, you're creating a moist, cool, and always stocked buffet for worms. They gather in the paths to feed, then tunnel into your raised beds, spreading nutrients exactly where your plants need them. Think of it as a free underground delivery service. You feed the worms in the paths, they carry the fertility into the beds, and your crops thrive without you lifting a finger. First, prepare your paths. Dig a trench between your raised beds about 6 to 12 inches deep. That's enough to hold scraps and give worms room to move freely. If your soil is compacted, loosen it at the bottom so the worms can easily travel between the walkway and the bed. Next, add your food scraps. Vegetable peelings, fruit scraps, coffee grounds, tea bags, and crushed eggshells are perfect. Stay away from meat, dairy, and oily foods since those attract pests. If you chop scraps into smaller pieces, worms and microbes will break them down much faster. A single bucket of kitchen waste spread across a trench can feed a worm population for weeks. After adding scraps, cover them with mulch. This step is non-negotiable. Without mulch, your walkways will dry out and attract flies. Wood chips, shredded leaves, or straw all work well. Lay down a layer 3 to 6 inches thick to hold in moisture, block light, and create the perfect worm habitat. From here, it's all about maintenance. Add fresh scraps every week or as often as your kitchen produces them, always topping off with mulch. Over time, the paths transform into soft, black, worm-filled compost factories that never need to be turned or managed. This method works better than a pile because it mimics nature. Just think of a forest floor for a second. Leaves and organic matter fall to the ground, worms feast, and nutrients are constantly cycled into the soil. By layering scraps and mulch in your walkways, you're basically recreating the forest floor right in your own garden. Unlike a compost pile, which is separate from your crops, this method delivers nutrients directly into the root zone of your plants. The walkways stay moist and cool even in hot weather, so worms stay active year-round. Their population just explodes, and within one season you'll see your raised beds crawling with life. Even better, it saves you from hauling heavy compost around or spending money on store-bought fertilizers. Your soil is literally rebuilding itself beneath your feet. To keep your worm walkways thriving, you'll want to focus on balance. If you notice any smells, it probably means you're adding too many greens like food scraps without enough browns. So just layer in some dry materials like leaves, straw, or even shredded cardboard. This simple step helps keep the system aerobic and odor-free. Moisture is another key factor, and it's pretty important. Worms love damp soil, but they just can't survive in soggy conditions. If you live in a dry climate, go ahead and water your walkways lightly once a week. About 1 gallon of water for every 10 square feet should do the trick. And in wetter regions, try using coarse wood chips to improve drainage so those trenches don't end up flooding. If rodents become an issue, you'll want to bury your scraps deeper, closer to 8 inches, and add a heavier mulch layer. Some gardeners also like to add a layer of cardboard or paper right on top of the scraps before mulching. This helps deter pests, while also giving worms a little extra food. So, it's important to adjust seasonally too. In the heat of summer, go ahead and pile on more mulch to keep things cool down there. But when those rainy seasons roll in, just keep your mulch layer a bit thinner so the paths don't get all waterlogged. These small tweaks, honestly, will keep your underground worm farm humming along nicely. Within a few months, you'll start to notice a difference. The soil in your beds will look darker, smell richer, and, well, feel a whole lot looser. Your plants are going to respond with greener leaves, faster growth, and just stronger resilience against stress. Over time, this system really builds a self-sustaining cycle of fertility that only gets better with each passing year. Instead of constantly buying soil amendments, your garden becomes self-feeding. The worms multiply, their castings accumulate, and your raised beds stay fertile with little to no outside input. The walkways you once ignored become the engine driving your entire garden. Adding food scraps and mulch in your garden walkways is one of the simplest and most effective hacks you'll ever try. It turns waste into fertilizer, invites worms by the thousands, and delivers fertility exactly where your plants need it. Best of all, it costs almost nothing and requires no special equipment. So the next time you walk between your raised beds, remember, you could be stepping over the most powerful composting system you'll ever use. Start feeding your paths, and your soil will reward you with abundance for years to come. If this guide opened your eyes to a new way of building soil, make sure you subscribe to Soil and Crop Central, and share this with your fellow gardeners. Let's help more people discover the simple secrets to growing healthier plants with living soil.